Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what we got. What we got as far as lighting. We got the grass acting as lighting. Welcome back. It's really early. Like the sun's not actually up and I'm on the water, which is a weird thing. But I guess that's what happens when you don't sleep. It's because I'm excited. I'm excited to be out here fishing a tournament, another tournament. We got the MLF College National Championship on Fort Gibson. And so this is practice for that. Practice for me. I've never been to this lake. I don't know anything about it. And I'm hoping to learn how to catch some big ones, because I haven't really fished as many tournaments. I've been following Dudley around. If you haven't followed Dudley's, if you're not watching what I'm doing on Dudley's channel, you know, if you want to see more of me, you can go there. The only tournament I haven't fished, normally I would have fished a couple BFLs at this point, and I tried to, but then they got canceled for weather. And so essentially this is kind of like the first tournament of the year for me, kind of, it feels like. Like I fished the College Classic on Kiwi, if you want to watch that video. And that was like a one-day shootout, just kind of a show-off thing. And I sucked really bad, so I'm trying to like act like it didn't even happen. Is really the deal with that. So here we are, it's our first multi-day tournament. Again, it's a national championship, so it's the same, okay, it is kind of the same boat as the College Classic, where it feels like, oh, it's almost like bust, you know, you're going for the victory or nothing. So, but that's, I feel like if this is the lesson I'm trying, you got to learn from your bad tournaments, and I feel like I haven't been doing a good job of learning. I've had a bad year. Last year I had a very bad year fishing, and I just didn't do a good job learning from like truly trusting my gut, and the gut that has gotten me this far, in that just take what God gives me every day. And that means in practice, if I get a bite, don't dial it in so much that I lock into it in the tournament. Don't get so into the shake-off bite mode where I don't know. There's all kinds of things. I'm trying to figure it out, obviously. If I knew the answer to why I sucked, I would obviously not suck anymore. But just trying to dissect. So one of the things I'm trying to learn from is just take what I can get. And that's always been how I fish. There's guys who say, oh, I fish for 5 big ones. I fish for the 5 biggest bass I can catch. You know, I'm going for the win. You know, I swing for the fence, all that kind of stuff. And that just doesn't work for me. Every time that I like get in my mind like, oh, I have to do something or bust, it just means it's just an excuse for me to do things that the fish aren't doing for longer. Like, oh, I'm gonna throw a jig because that's how you win tournaments. Well, if they ain't biting it, they ain't biting it. Pick up a darn Ned rig. I don't care. And you watch enough of the Bass Pro Tour, you watch Jordan Lee catch 2 8-pounders in Louisiana on a Ned rig, and you realize you just got to take what the fish give you, and sometimes it'll work out. And that's how it's always worked out for me when I've done well. And I've won a couple tournaments, but those were tournaments where it lined up. I mean, I was looking for it, but when the tournament happens, it has to click during the tournament and come to you. So that's what I'm going to try to do this week. I'm especially trying to do that. That is my #1 focus here at this national championship. Not get too caught up in the hype of it being a national championship to the point where I don't even, fish. You just end up like doing dumb things. So just, if I get a bite, just try to be the best. My goal every day is to try to be the best angler that I can be. If that means I come in with 10 pounds, then that's fine. If that's you making good decisions and being if that's the best angler I can be in a day, based on making good decisions and figuring out what I can figure out, then that's it. If it's 12 pounds, it's 12 pounds. If it's 25 and I win, then that's it. But you can't, there's guys, that talk about swinging for the fence, and you even look at it. Jason Christie won the Classic that week. That I was sucked it up at Kiwi, and then he said, well, now I'm good the rest of the year to just fish the way I want to fish. The very next tournament, he goes to Santee, he catches 1 bass the first day. So when you get, even the greats, if you get locked in on just like, I'm going to fish the way that when it works, it's a home run, but you're going to suck a lot. And if you sometimes, in these tournaments, especially now with all the pressure fish get, you can salvage in a multi-day event and just keep your head above water for multiple days. In a multi-day event, you never know when that could pay off. So that's the goal, figure out how to catch some fish here and try not to get, but also at the same point in time, I'm trying not to get too locked in as far as fish go, because that's bit me a lot in the last year too, where you like, it's so cliche, and so it's good to learn it all again, how cliche it is, you know, don't get too dialed, but you really can. I mean, like, it happens where it's not that getting dialed is such a problem in the practice. It's just that fish change, and we have a tendency, humans and anglers, you know, it's very hard to leave what you knew the fish were doing. I mean, that's just the hard and fast truth. So, and then I don't care how good you are. That's what really, I think, separates the good from the great, is that the great can find a way to let go of how they were catching them and truly fish the moment, as Ike and Ellie would say. Fish the moment. Yeah, and so I would like to fish the moment a little bit more. And for me, the best way I can do that mentally is keep the number of inputs to a minimum. Keep a lot, get a lot of passive inputs in my brain. And what I mean by that is, like, find a lot of stuff, but don't let it lock you in. You know, like, find a lot of little rocks and get clues onto, okay, I see bait in the backs of the pockets, the water temperature's this, the water color up the lake was this, I found rock here, I found laydowns here, things so that when things start to click in the tournament, just enough to get a start, and from there you can go. At this point, you know, in this day and age, there's so much information out there, everybody knows everything, so it's not like you're like gonna, like, most guys know the deal. It's all mental. It's all about the decisions you make in a tournament day. And that's what I felt like separated me in you know, years past, was that I was pretty good at just figuring it out during the day and being the guy who in practice didn't catch them and then came to weigh in and had a limit. And, you know, the guys in the bag line next to me with 1 or 2 fish were saying I caught 20 pounds a day before. And this last year, I became that guy. I mean, it's how the mighty fall. Pride goeth before the fall, so it's a good thing to learn. But like last year, I had some of the better practices than I ever had. I caught fish almost every time. I never went into a tournament going, oh my gosh, I only had 1 bite. And I had the worst year I've ever had. And so I'm gonna try not to let that get to me. And that is the goal this week. Like, if I can fish just free, I don't care where I finish. I'm trying to win the dang sucker, because this is a national championship after all, but if just trying to fish what I can fish, and we'll learn from there. So, trying to wind around and see what we can figure out.
Gotta make sure my hair looks good. Gotta look like a winner to catch us some dinner. That's the saying. Here's what we're working with this week. We're working with turkey sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, blueberry crisp, Cliff Bars, giant bag of celery, and of course some caffeine. So we're rocking and rolling. Welcome to day 2 of practice here at Fort Gibson Lake in Oklahoma. We're gonna hopefully figure out how to catch some bass. And I say we, because look who showed up. I got a partner, Joey Williams, the man. How many are you gonna catch today?
25 pounds myself on the back of the boat with the Senko.
That's probably what will happen. Can't you save it for the tournament? Just this once,
We'll
man.
shake them off. We'll shake them off.
Oh, there we go. There we go. We're staying at the lovely Days Inn. We're about to try to hook up and get out of here. It's a mess out there in the parking lot, but we gotta go catch some bass. Or try to find bass so that we can catch bass later. It's just practice. Sorry. Yeah, man. Okay, so I was editing the Fort Gibson tournament video and I realized I normally, like I've done for the BFL videos, I've done like a sit down, explain everything, and I really like that format. It's just a lot of work, and I wanted to like mix it up for the college ones, make them more vlog style, since that's kind of just like show you what the college angling life is like a little bit, a little more personal and less of a like tournament breakdown. But also, I'm editing the video and I realized I don't have, like, I've lost all the practice footage is gone, which is really probably okay because almost nothing happened in practice on Fort Gibson. So I'll give you a quick breakdown.
So anyway, day one, had 2 days of practice really, 2 solid days of practice, and it was pretty much an absolute wash. I mean, there wasn't much to say. The water was dropping like at a rapid rate, like 6 inches a day, I think. So almost half a foot a day, the lake is dropping. So it was in the bushes, in all the cover. And after the tournament, ended up hearing from a bunch of guys that they were smashing them in practices, flipping in the really shallow stuff. And the first day of practice, I had 2 bites. 2 bites all day. And the 2 bites I got were both flipping. And it was like, I only did it for like half an hour. And one was a 6-pounder. But I specifically tried not to do it. And the reason was because the water was dropping. I looked at the lake history of the lake levels, and like the rate at which they drop the lake, and like what kind of level they like try to keep it at this time of year. And to me, I was like, the way it was looking, I was like, well, they got a lot of rain. The water came up. Now they're sucking it, trying to get it back down to the normal pool. And from what I could tell, they were going to keep sucking it down. So I just didn't want to get up there and start flipping and then come back in the tournament and have it be dry land, which is what some guys did. That was day 1. Day 2, Joey showed up. We went up the lake. For day 1, I spent most of my time down the lake. Day 2, went way up the river, bounced around like crazy. Practice for me, like this one, I really wanted to try. Like, I'm trying to, college fishing is a great opportunity, gives you a great chance to go like experimenting. I took this practice a little bit differently than maybe I would other practices, or maybe not that differently, but just I experimented a little during practice on Fort Gibson, just because college fishing gives you the opportunity to go out and try things without having a $2,000 entry fee on the line. Is really the main thing. You have this opportunity to go out and fish a multi-day event like these big events, but your entry fee is almost nothing. It's really just about the learning experience. And at the national championship, yeah, there's nothing. So you have everything to gain and not really that much to lose comparatively to some of these events where you're like the professionals where their livelihoods on the line. So it's a great time to learn and make mistakes. And so trying to like just go through the process, I just took this practice. I said, I want to do not a lot of fishing. I want to just do a lot of looking. I'd rather get a sample, a little bit of everything, and just that way when I come back to somewhere in the tournament, I'll learn it through. My hope was that I didn't get too locked in on anything in practice, so that in the tournament, if I got in an area and started getting some bites, that you could expand and like kind of fish new water within there, and not, instead of in practice, if you get really if you slow down a lot and kind of figure out an area in practice, then when you come back in the tournament, you know all the places to hit, but that makes you almost like, that kind of lets you, that can sometimes be a hindrance because in your mind you block off those areas that you don't think that you're going to catch one. So for example, if you fish there's 3 or 4 pockets in this area of a creek, and you got bit in one of them, and in practice you got bit in the first one. And there's 2 different types of practice. One type of practice is, I got a bit on one on a lay down in this pocket, and then I got bitten on another lay down in that pocket. Then you have 2 options now. Now it's you have several options. You could say, well, I'm done with that. I'm gonna go run to a different area of the lake, go try something else, or you can go to the next pocket and then shake them off that lay down. Go to the next pocket, shake them off that lay down, and you end up then. And though you can get dialed into where everything is, and sometimes in the tournament that works out, you go in there and you're like, yep, I shook one off that log and I know there's a log there. But sometimes it just is helpful to just kind of catch the 2 in the pocket, then leave in practice, so that if you come back there in the tournament, you go into the next pocket you've never fished before, but it's a generally good area because you caught 2 fish there, and that gives you enough confidence to keep you in an area, but not enough knowledge to make you rule out what the fish might actually be doing on that day, because fish change so much, especially in the springtime. So day 2 of practice with Joey, we were mostly on the upper end, but we ran all over. I mean, I'm talking ran way up the river to where it was blowing out, the current was just ripping, like it was like fishing the Alabama River or St. Lawrence. It was just absolutely ripping. Ran down the lake, fishing more backwater areas and marinas and main lake stuff to like inches deep. I mean, we went all over. And didn't have much to show for that either. Only had 2 keeper bites that day as well. So going into the tournament, I had 1 bite in a creek up the lake, and I liked the look of that creek way up the lake. I had caught 1 6-pounder in a creek down the lake, and it was one of those fish I'd caught flipping, so I was like, it might be dry land, but I still liked that area of the lake. And then you had just like, well, sometimes when you have a bad practice, you don't catch them, the best thing to do is just completely maximize your time. Stay right there. We were launching right in the middle. So going into day 1 of the tournament, those were the 3 thoughts running through my mind. It's like, do I maximize my time, stay close, fish really close to the ramp? Do I go up the lake? or do I go down the lake? And I literally, right up till takeoff, I pretty much didn't know what I wanted to do. But the last second I said, you know what? Down the lake, it's a little bit cleaner water. I like cleaner water. I caught a 6-pounder down there. Yes, it was flipping shallow wood, and that's going to be dry land now. But those fish have to go somewhere. And it just looked like a good area with a variety of things going on. And then there was one major creek down there that it was really shallow in the back, but had deeper water near the front. And so going into day one, the last second I said, you know what? Let's go for it. So this is day one of the national championship on Fort Gibson.
Ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
What day is it?
Day one, calm before the storm.
Calm before the storm, and it feels like we're almost already in the storm. Alright guys, here we are. We made it. National Championship Day 1. We did not figure them out. So that's what today is for, I guess. Because as of right now, we're on nothing. But except a big fat bag of wind. Because it's going to blow today. Hopefully that makes them bite. I feel like it could. Somebody's going to take advantage of it, and we're going to try to make it us. So hopefully we don't die, and hopefully we come back with 5 big old bass today. Day 1 national championship, Fort Gibson Lake.
Thank you. You guys are ready to rock and roll. Thank you guys.
Do not pass this boat in front of you, medium boat, or my kill stick. Gotcha. I'm gonna look good, right? Let's go, bro. We have nothing to go on. We got nothing to lose, and everything to gain. We got a national championship we can win. What the? Not good. We're broken down in the water. What the heck? It's fine. Hope it ain't. What is it? Uh-oh. You gotta be kidding. Get out of these people's way. It's beeping at me, but why would it beep at me if it's not gonna tell me what's wrong? You gotta be kidding me. It runs all tournament and all practice until the day of the tournament. They're lining the prop or anything. He might be. I don't know what else to do. We can idle.
I'm going to turn off all the power and drag.
Yeah, maybe all the lights and
It might make our decision for us. You know what I'm saying?
System check. System okay.
Let's try again.
What does that mean? I don't know. Almost makes me, I am scared to run though, because if we go down there and it gets rough and the boat goes out, we're really screwed. But also,
didn't have an issue all day. Maybe we just need to let it blow.
that's what I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna idle for a minute. Okay, so knowing my luck, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. My boat's been out of action because I got hit by another boater back in December. If you're not following me on Instagram, you didn't know that. But if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see scroll down, you'll find a boat wreck where I got smashed by another boat. Anyway, so I've been like borrowing boats. So of course I'm borrowing Dudley's older Ranger. Use the boat, works fine all practice, not a hiccup, not a flaw, not a problem. And literally, day 1 of the tournament, everything's working fine until right at takeoff. We go through our boat check. It's our turn to go. I give Joey a fist bump. We're like, let's go, man. I throw the throttle down, and the thing immediately alarms just start blaring, and nothing happens. Just, I'm like, let's go, bro. Throw the throttle down. Nothing. No throttle. I had no idea what it was. Like the little sensor screen wasn't showing anything at first. Like, so I didn't know what it was. And so I just decided, I said maybe it's some weird fluke thing. So I turned off all the power in the boat, turned it back on, and when I went to go, turned it back on, I idled for a little bit, and it seemed to idle fine. It didn't beep at me. And so I was like kind of scared on whether to make a decision to run to my creek. But I was like, well, it's not that far, and it seemed to be. It ran fine all practice. The indicator screen wasn't showing, wasn't saying what was wrong, and it didn't even say that anything was wrong. It said everything was fine. So I thought, well, who knows? Maybe it's just a freak thing. Let's go. So went ahead, put the throttle down. She ran fine all the way down to our first spot that morning.
Crazy thing that you notice about when you fish tournaments is like guys will stop on everything, you know. So like you only got bit in one place, but you go to everything. That's just how it is. There's another boat in there. Evidently, several fish were caught in the vicinity.
Is there any left?
Dude. That ain't gonna help. But I like it. No way. Dude. Are you kidding me? No way. I cannot believe that happened. I don't know what else to do.
Okay, I don't know if you can see quite what happens. Literally, I make 2 casts on the first spot this morning, and my second cast I hook up, and of course it's the morning, day 1 national championship, first spot, just get there, hook one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got one. So Joey's like, yes. So we're freaking out a little bit. Joey jumps to grab the net immediately, and you can't see it. He turns his body, his rod goes bloop right in the drink. That was the beginning of day 1. His rod went straight in the drink. We had just bought it at the Red Crest Expo the day before, or whatever, day and a half before. So that was a like 2-day-old rod, went straight in the lake. That's how we started the morning. First, boat didn't work. First thing spot we go to, I hook one. Joey dumps his rod in the lake, and it wasn't even a keeper. So that's how we started day 1 of the national championship.
Joey freaking Williams. You are the man. You're the man. You're the freaking man, bro. Yo.
I don't care about that rod anymore.
We're not gonna zero. Nice job, bro. Honestly, I'm just happy to not do that. Like I said, I think I should let you be.
I just broke off my wheel.
What contest are you throwing? He's trying to spit me bait.
Big?
Didn't look that big. It looked like a keeper though. That's a good sign. Like I said, we just need to put the more down. Just spinnerbait away, bro. How many miles of the spinnerbait can we cover today?
I'll pick up the semis.
Okay, so the unfortunate string of events that led to this happening, which you can't quite see, it's just, again, it had all happened perfectly. So that rod, we were throwing spinnerbaits that morning. Joey caught us our first one. It was a good one. And So the rod he dumped in the lake was his spinnerbait rod. So he grabs another rod, cuts a line off, puts on a new spinnerbait, because I caught my non-keeper on a spinnerbait. It just looked like a spinnerbait, situation. So, and Joey had he's a spinnerbait fisherman. So he ties on a spinnerbait, throws up there, he catches our first one, a really good fish. And then he literally, the same log, he throws back up in there, and another big one boils on it. He sets the hook, immediately breaks. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? That broke so easy. What pound test are you throwing? He's like, well, 12. 12-pound test thrown in the wood. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? He's like, well, I normally throw it on 20, but that's what 20-pound test was the rod that went in the drink. So basically, the only reason he was throwing it on that little dinky line was because the rod with the right line went in the lake. So that's why we broke it. That's, luckily caught number 1, broke off number 2, but it was just a funny string of events like that. The only way that could happen was all that happening in a row. So it's kind of funny.
Oh!
Okay, so that was our third keeper bite of the day. Came off the same freaking log. So our first one Joey caught. Second one Joey broke off. I watched it after he broke him off. I watched the fish jump. It was another keeper. And then I had one. I hooked one on a jig for a second. He comes to the top and boils and comes off. So saw that one too. So those were 2 guaranteed keepers that came off, and we had one in the boat. At this point, it was like, well, we need to start fishing around, go try some other areas. But of course, as soon as we got down there, the freaking alarms start going off on the boat again. So turns out it wasn't just a random fluke. It kept acting up. So I was like, what the heck is wrong with this thing? And eventually, after several times of like idling and then turning it off and turning it on, the code reader finally showed, hey, error, there's something wrong with the boat. And it said low oil pressure. So the boat went into guardian mode. And that meant that the boat wouldn't let you get over so many RPMs. You could only go about 20 miles an hour. And that was how we were the rest of the day. And now, late in the day, the wind started howling. We've been fishing in this general area, the lower end of the lake. We haven't had any more bites in hours. And now we can't even get around. And I'm thinking, it's going to get rough. And our boat barely runs. We need to head back as soon as possible. So that was began the rough ride back to take off. So we got back to takeoff, and we had a little bit of time, and the GoPro didn't catch it. But we just fished right there by takeoff. I'm like, well, we got a little bit more time. Let's just fish right here. And I'm so glad we went back early, because dang, it was rough, as you saw. We get back in there, and Joey's throwing a spinnerbait. Thank goodness he put it on a little bit heavier line, because he hooks up with a big one, a fairly big one. And we fight it, get it to the boat, I net it. It's our second keeper of the day, almost at the end of the day. At this point, I'm freaking out. I was very excited to have anything because, as you can see, the day was kind of a dud of a day up to this point. So to have 2 bass in the well, I was thinking, wow, that's pretty, I'll take it for now. But we still had a little bit of time, still a little bit of enough time to make a little bit of magic happen. And that was what we were trying to do. Grab my Liberty University jersey. Had 5 fish on today is what sucks.
We had 7 fish or so.
5 100%. Like 100% bass that were on the line today. Alright. Let's see what we got here. Alright. Let's see if this works. Rough day. Joey saved us though. Joey absolutely saved us. Spinnerbait caught 2. Unfortunately, we had 5 bites, which sucks, but we're about to weigh in 3. It's better than none. So, let's see. I think I can pump the water out. I don't even know if that's coming out of the live wells or where that's coming from. Joey's big mouth behemoth bass. Dude, that's a chunker. That is a chunker.
Down there, where that pontoon is. Yeah.
My little squirter back cool. So that wrapped up day 1 pretty much for us. We ended up with 3 bass. Those 3 bass weighed, I think like 10 something. And we were sitting 22nd out of almost 180 anglers after the first day. And that just shows you how stingy Fort Gibson Lake was. I don't really know, like I know Fort Gibson isn't that like big of a lake. Like, I mean, as far as like tournaments go, it's not like a fish factory. But still, 3 bass has you in 22nd place at the national championship. You know, these are some of the better college anglers that they've qualified from all over to get here. So they had to qualify to get here. This isn't just anybody shows up. And that only 3 bass has you in 22nd place. The fishing was bad. Fishing was really bad. So going into day 2, you know, we're looking at the weights and we're looking at like, again, hate to be a what if guy, but we had, with the bites we had, the keeper guaranteed, the ones that were definitely keepers that we had on, if we had landed everything that bit, we would have been in like 3rd place. So we're like, okay, well, clearly we're doing something right. So it's like, in these tough tournaments, it's so easy to want to run around because nothing is happening, because you go so long without bites, that your instinct is to say, this is not the right area, this isn't the right, whatever we're doing is not right, we need to go change everything. But generally speaking, in those tough tournaments, that's not it. It's about just the best percentage of making sure that you can land what you can land. To increase those odds, you just have to keep your bait wet. You just have to keep casting. You can't be running around. If you're in an area that you know has some kind of, if you have any indication that there's a population of fish there, you should probably just maximize your time there, make as many good casts as you can, and hope that at some point the window opens up, and that when that window of feeding does open up, that you're there for it, and you're not running around the lake trying to find it. Then when it does happen, you're going to be there for it, because in tournaments like that, it's just so hard to make any kind of move or any kind of prediction of what's going to happen to get a bite, because no one seemed to know very well. Not to mention the leaders of the tournament, the guys who were leading after day 1, and spoiler alert, who ended up winning the whole tournament, they started on the exact spot we started at. Now, they got there before us because our boat wasn't acting right. So, and they didn't catch all their weight there for sure. I guarantee you that they weren't there. We bounced back there and they were gone. I guarantee you they didn't catch the majority of their weight there. But just, we knew we were in the right end of the lake. We knew we were doing something right. So going into day 2, our plan was to just buckle down. You know, we were thinking, well, we caught some fish so close to takeoff right near the end of the day. We're going to start there, and then depending on how that goes, we're going to go back down to the lower end and bunker down one of those 2 areas. Whichever area gives us any kind of indication that we can get some bites, whether it be close. If we get some bites close, we'll stay. If not, we'll go there and we'll bunker down there. And at that point, we had eliminated most of the lake and just said, well, I got 2 areas that we feel like we can go hunker down in, and that we should hunker down in given the conditions. So again, you can't see it, but like clockwork, we go to put in day 2 of the national championship, back the boat in, and I go to start it up, and all the graphs are kind of flickering all the lights are kind of flickering, and go to start the engine and it barely turns over, and it's like, oh gosh, no. Something is really wrong here. We're so dead in the water. So it's turned off all the graphs, all the power. So clearly something is wrong with the power. Go back into the battery box. There's a jump switch that allows you to, it says, you know, you can switch the batteries from the main battery to jump, you know, start your engine off of a cranking battery if you, or a trolling motor battery if you need to. Went ahead, tried that, nothing, didn't do anything. Try to do the jump over where it connects the two batteries and tries to start the engine, nothing. So here it is, once again, national championship right at the takeoff, and the boat is dead in the water. It's not doing anything. So I'm kind of panicking, or moderately panicking. I mean, I've been in these kinds of situations before. Enough that I wasn't going crazy, but it was enough of a problem that it was like, what do you do? Because I didn't know whether electronics issues are always the most difficult to me, because they're never quite as simple as they should be to fix. So I'm like, I wasn't really sure what kind of damage we were dealing with here. Like, I was like, could I just go out and change the battery and that's gonna fix it? Could I just charge a battery for a little bit and then it'll work? I really didn't know, and I was scared that I was gonna waste a lot of time doing something that might not work. But at the end, as the boats were taking off, I said, luckily we were a later boat number on day 2, so I said, well, you know, we're gonna lose fishing time no matter what, but hopefully we won't lose that much considering we're a later boat number. I'm gonna go drive to Walmart. I'm gonna get us a new cranking battery. So that's what I did. I drove to Walmart, bought a brand new cranking battery, drove all the way back, set it up, and it started like a dream. So, you know, all the boats were gone at that point, and so we were late. I can't remember how much we were late by, but at that point it was like, well, let's go out and fish. We'd actually gone the oil pressure thing, the boat would only run 20 miles an hour. We had taken it to a marine shop and they had given us 7 quarts of oil, and we put new oil in it. Must have had a leak somewhere. And so we were hoping that, you know, we weren't even sure if that was going to work, to be honest, but got the boat in the water and got moving on day 2, and eventually we were able to get out and go fishing. It does have my contact info, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, we got the engine started, we're in the marina, we're idling around to the dock. Is that where we should go?
I'm just gonna throw it in there if you don't care.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Guys, good luck to you. You're good. You're squared away. Kill switch attached to your body.
Yep.
Attach it to your body.
It is.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Kill that switch. We'll be good to go, guys. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I don't even know if it's gonna run. Alarm. Great. Oh, no, it's gone. It might, I don't know if something, it might come on, you know, you don't know, I don't know, we don't even know if the oil thing got fixed.
Yeah, I know.
Oil pressure's a lot higher than yesterday.
Because there wasn't no oil in it, I'm telling you. I don't know how much it rained. Like, I don't know if it was down.
There was water coming in when the creek got there, you know, that I crossed over to the truck.
It wasn't gonna help.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
I told you it ain't gonna help. There's your spinnerbait.
there's my spinnerbait. Why did it break all the way up the line? Well, Mitchell. Right. I'm gonna listen to you more. I'll say if it wasn't, it was. Dude, why did it break like way up there though?
We got a mess now. Hey, at least there's fishing in the area.
Of course, I set the hook like a train wreck.
Yeah, because we're both fucking antsy.
I wonder why. You know, there's no reason to be all fired up and on edge this morning.
We really weren't that late. If we were boat number 1, we'd have an issue.
So this is actually just kind of a crazy catch type of thing. So we go to this marina. I'm throwing a spinnerbait, a little baby spinnerbait, and I throw up next to the rocks. I'm bringing it down the rocks. It goes dunk. First bite of the day. And we had just got to this spot after fixing the boat up and then idling it and then slowly running it, like just to make sure that it runs off the oil thing and the battery thing. So we're a little, everything's a little bit, I'm a little bit jacked up. And so of course, get this bite, don't, and I set the hook, whack. I mean, I set the hook as hard as I could. Instant break, because I set the hook like a moron. But the line broke almost all the way up in the reel, which was really weird. And Joey throws his spinnerbait. He's like, keep fishing. Joey kept his head in the game. He threw out there just like, keep fishing, man. And sure enough, he's like, got one immediately. And his spinnerbait had snagged my line. And I was able to catch the fish. It was not a keeper. But I got my spinnerbait back. That was just kind of crazy to me. Broke it off and he immediately caught the line. Like, if you've ever broken your line off before and tried to like catch it, you know, it's usually not very easy. Like, I've had that happen before and then like thrown a crankbait around and dragged it. And so the fact that he just caught it immediately with no effort involved, he just threw back out there and he's like, yeah, I got your line. It was kind of crazy. Caught the fish too. Got my spinnerbait, caught the fish. Not a keeper.
I don't know if that fish would count or not. If it had been a keeper.
We would have called now.
No, we were definitely calling ash. Because if I get polygraphed, which it sounds like they're willing to do, that would be exactly how those other guys got DQ'd. That's a good bait right there.
Make money no matter what happens.
Why do I throw anything besides a spinnerbait?
The drag was perfect.
All I keep doing is picking up other baits. So after Joey caught that tank of a fish, that was our first bite of the day, but this is hours into the day. We've gotten through the mess of trying to fix the boat up. We eventually fished around close to takeoff where we had gotten some bites the previous day, and it was just not happening. Like, we fished it thoroughly, and there was just no sign of life compared to the day before. And we had good conditions the afternoon before. Sun and wind is a good combination to catch some on a spinnerbait and get some fish kind of fired up that normally wouldn't be. And that seemed to be the case because it seemed like they normally must not have been biting because they were not biting the next morning. So we run down the lake, run to that creek, the general area of the lake where we felt like we had the best opportunity. And Joey put this big one in the boat. And that was a good sign, and it should have been the sign to key us in, to lock in and say, yep, yes, the bite is terrible, so we need to just stay here. We need to stay in this general area and just fish. The problem was there were boats everywhere, and again, we were getting bites, but not a lot. I mean, we're talking over the course, okay, we had 2-3 bites there the first day in hours of fishing in that area, and they all came off one log, by the way. And now this one, and there were just boats doing laps in these 2 or 3 pockets that had enough depth. And that whenever you're fishing around that, Fort Gibson's not that big, but when you're fishing around that many boats, like, I know you can't avoid boats so much in the springtime, it's a lot harder. And usually, though, the fishing is good enough. It's got to be good enough to offset having that many boats in an area if you're going to do well. Or you just have to be dialed in, just way better than everybody else. And neither of those were true. The area was not that much better, and we were not that much more dialed in. So, like an idiot, eventually I said, you know what, we got to pull the plug. I gotta try. You know, I had, you know, in the back of my mind that one area up the river, this creek up the river where I had caught one in practice, and just had I had the right ingredients that looked good to hold fish, like a good population of fish could live in that creek. I said we gotta go. So then we ran up there, didn't do anything, and ended up just running around, which is, again, I told myself over and over, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I did it. I knew I shouldn't have done it because we didn't come up with another bass. So that was it for Fort Gibson. We only weighed in a grand total of 4 bass. I think we finished 33rd or something. So in the 30s out of like almost 180 boats with 4 bass. So definitely not a good tournament. I guess the thing is, it's one of those tournaments where like, there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, who are sitting there going, yeah, it was way worse. Because there were plenty of good college anglers who did not catch 4 bass in 2 days of fishing. But still, that 4 bass is never good. Like, you never feel like you accomplished anything if you only caught 4 in 2 days. So I went away from this tournament scratching my head a little bit as to why. I mean, the lake was dropping, and I guess, you know, bass, just largemouth, do not like falling water. Smallmouth, I imagine, don't like falling water. When it's falling that fast in the springtime, it's just not a good deal. But I felt like we had a good game plan. We concentrated on the first bit of deep water off of these shallow areas where it felt like those fish might slide to, and that was really like, it just seemed like all the ingredients were there for it to work. I think we just made the mistake of running around. Honestly, I think I ran around. I knew we shouldn't, and I think we ran around a little too much. And the biggest reasons I have for that, not only because that's just a general tried and true fact of tough tournaments, is that the guys who run around like chickens with their head cut off tend to do worse than the guys who just bunker down in one area and just say, I'm gonna milk this for all it's worth for 8 hours. I'm gonna cast at the same log for 8 hours. You get that from tidal fishing tournaments a lot, where the water fluctuates like here. But the biggest thing to me was that the guys who won the tournament, they started in the exact spot we started on, and they, you know, they didn't fish there clearly the whole tournament, but they stayed in that general area of the lake. That's what in the final results, reading about it. And the really painful part was also second place also started in the same place we did, and we saw them multiple times keep coming back to that same little stretch that we started on. And we just, eventually, they were like one of those boats that made me go, there's just too many boats here. I gotta leave. They finished second. So first and second were both on the spot we started on, and we just said, there's too many. Eventually, just like, this is ridiculous. Gotta run around. There's too many boats in this area. And evidently, that was not the move. The move was to try to sit there and just grind out some bites. Because clearly there were fish in the area, and I knew it and had the ingredients. But man, at the same time, when you go, 4 hours without a bite, and there's just boats on, like, you're just fishing behind people. It's just painful fishing. It's not fun. And that point, it's like, is it worth it? Yes, because I'd rather do whatever it takes. It's not whatever it takes to win, especially at a national championship. I'm willing to go through fishing behind people if that is what it takes to do well. But at the same time, when you have to have some results. So looking back, definitely not happy with my decisions at all, especially the second day, because at least the first day I told myself to stay, and I mostly did it. Like, I still ran around a little bit. Second day, I just gave up and went running around, and of course, we had a way worse day. So that's it for Fort Gibson. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next time where you'll listen to me ramble for hours about why I did what I did, and trying to understand my own mind enough to know why the heck did I make those stupid decisions in the tournament. So hopefully I can learn from next time. Maybe it taught you something, or hopefully you just got a little bit of entertainment out of it. But tight lines, God bless. And guys, we'll see you next time on the episode. On the episode of Obsessed Fishing. In the next episode? Is it in the next episode or on the next episode? I don't know. Anyways, we'll see you next time.